Phylum Chordata, subphylum Craniata, infraphylum Vertebrata, superclass Gnathostomata. This is a common name is a smoothhound shark. They are native to our local area. They're native to kind of everywhere. This is a saltwater animal. It's about probably maybe 3 to 4 years old, but she will not ever get older.
How funny.
Over on the anterior end, we're showing a couple of holes in the top of the head called spiracles. And these allow her to ventilate the pharyngeal cavity for breathing, so she can rest on the sandy bottom of the ocean and then draw water into the mouth by way of these top holes. Instead of getting a mouthful of sand and water, she just gets a mouthful of water. And then across the top we have a pair of dorsal fins. Now it's a little known fact that the dorsal fin actually has the ability to turn water red. Lots and lots of people will report going swimming and they'll see a dorsal fin near the top of the water, then all of a sudden the water turns red. We're unclear as to how it does this. Some people have to deal with shark attack, probably. Here we have the caudal fin. Oh, is that your fin? Here we have the caudal fin, and we can see that the spinal cord goes up into the dorsal lobe of that tail, and so we call that a heterocercal tail. There's supposed to be a lateral line, so I'm just going to point to nothing. There's a lateral line right there. We couldn't find a very clearly defined one, so we're going to try to flip her over. You ready? Very nicely done. We didn't splash it all that time. It was the best one ever. So here we have a pectoral fin. Here we have a pectoral fin, and this is a pelvic fin here. And this is a girl shark. How do we know? Well, we checked her pelvic fins, and she doesn't have claspers attached to them. If this were a boy shark, we'd have little pieces right here that are equivalent to the penis. Over up on the anterior end, Nakia will point to the ampullae of Lorenzini. Those little holes here house structures that are sensitive to electrical currents. Anytime you have a body that's in a medium that's charged and the charged medium is moving around the body, it creates an electrical current. So you create an electrical current in the water, and sharks can sense that. We're also looking at nostrils. Nostrils are for smelling, not for breathing, just for smelling. And then there's the mouth with the big scary teeth. Rawr. Yes, very nice. And then here we go. Let's open this up here. What's up? We forgot to open the other side.
Oh, I was waiting. I thought you wanted to talk about it first.
No, just open first.
Okay.
Oh, you're doing things in order.
I know.
Nice.
For me.
Okay, so this is how it would look. The diagram in your lab manual looks very much like this, except it's not as shiny. These two big pieces that Nakia wanted to play with first are parts of the liver. Liver. They have a very large liver. We'll talk about why when we get to it in lecture sometime in, I don't know, June.
Next year.
Yeah. Now, Nakia, as you're touching the body wall here, can you describe the texture of that body wall?
Slimy.
Slimy, yeah, satisfying. It's slimy because they retain a great deal of fat in the forms of oils in their body. And then we'll talk about that in lecture when we get to it in July. We have the membrane against the body wall called the peritoneum. And then here's the stomach. Now we open the stomach so that we can show off the rugae. Ooh. What's the function of the rugae, young Jen?
Surface area.
It is there to increase the surface area for secretion of enzymes and digestion of the specimen inside. Now this was an empty stomach, so that was kind of boring. And then come around this corner, and this corner. That's the duodenum right here, here to here. So kind of an S-shaped duodenum, and always associated with the duodenum we have the pancreas. Here's a piece of the pancreas right here. You can see the color is just slightly different. And then we have another piece of the pancreas. Another piece of the pancreas hiding right here in the mesentery. So two pieces of the same organ not connected to each other, same function, same everything, just not in the same spot. Here we have the spleen. And then we'll move farther down. We have a structure called the ileum, which is homologous to the intestine. Now it's a pretty short ileum, but to overcome that shortness, there's a special structure inside. You see all the little dividers there? It's called the spiral valve. And we'll talk about the function of the spiral valve specifically, unless Jen says it right now.
Surface area.
Surface area, good. And then here we have the rectal gland. It's responsible for chemical communication. So when Susie the shark makes a poop, everyone knows that was Susie the shark's poop. Susie the shark does have ovaries. They're found up here, ovary here, and ovary over there. She's an immature female, so her ovaries are not well developed. If we looked at the male shark, which I'll dissect this afternoon, I guess, we would find the testes in the same condition. And so if on the exam I put a pin through this and I say, what structure is this? And you go, I don't know, it could be anything. Look down here. If you see extra, pardon me, If you see extra structures here, then that means those are testes. If you don't see extra structures here, that means those are ovaries. So let's get her liver back in the spot. She's going to need that. So this is the abdominal cavity. Up here we have the pericardial cavity. And separating those two areas, we have a membranous structure that someone tore, the Kia.
How dare you?
I know, right? I'm such a rude jerk. So we have a structure right here, I'm kind of holding it up, called the transverse septum. Again, that divides the abdominal cavity from the pericardial cavity. You're going to do that area. The big muscular part in the pericardial cavity is called the ventricle, and the Kia is showing the ventricle here. If you fold the ventricle anteriorly, there's a triangular structure underneath it called the sinus venosus. And we can see the sinus venosus goes right up against the transverse septum. There you go. If we fold that ventricle back down, we can see coming out of the ventricle anteriorly is the conus arteriosus. Good. And kind of the gray cushy thing that the ventricle lies on is called the atrium. So let's do it all in order, shall we? Sinus venosus. Fold the ventricle forward. That's a triangle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Sinus venosus, atrium, ventricle, conus arteriosus. Well done. Any questions about the short term? All right.